It's Victory Monday, GTHC Victory Monday.
You are Locked On Wolfpack, your daily podcast on the NC State Wolfpack, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
What's up, Wolfpack Nation? It's time to get locked in with Locked On. Thanks for making Locked On Wolfpack your first listen each and every day. We are free and available wherever you get your podcast and on YouTube, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. Our Monday opening sponsor is FanDuel. You can win big this season on FanDuel. New customers can place just a $5 bet, and you'll get started with $150 back in bonus bets if that first $5 bet wins. Head on over to FanDuel.com in order to get started. Happy Monday to all. Happy GTHC Victory Monday to all. As always, I'm Grayson Boone, joined by former Wolfpack defensive tackle Kenton Gibbs. How sweet it is to beat the boys in baby blue. Celebrating a 35-30 win over the Dirty Foot Club in the final game of the regular season. Couldn't feel any sweeter to send old William Brown into retirement.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. And again, I want to reiterate because some people are giving NC State fandom a very bad rap right now. Some people are being very dishonest, saying, oh, well, the season's been terrible, but I guess everything is fixed because we beat the Dirty Foot Club. No, everything's not fixed by beating them. But damn it, give people 24 hours to celebrate beating those bozos. Yes, it's a norm around here. Yeah, it's what we've come to expect around here. Yeah. But you know what? It'll never not make me feel good.
Exactly.
There will never be a day, nor will there be a competition. Like I said on Saturday, I don't care if it's football. I don't care if it's basketball. I don't care if it's baseball. I don't care if it's volleyball. I don't care if we get the cheese wheel girl back out here. I don't care what the competition is. If I get a chance to beat some clown wearing baby blue, if I get a chance to embarrass those guys, if I get a chance to run up the score on them, oh, baby, you got to believe I'm going to be geeked up like Fabo in 06 to enjoy my time beating them. That is something that I take great, great, great joy in. I'm happy when they lose regardless of who they lose to. But when the Wolfpack get a literal win out of it as well, oh, come on now. You got to enjoy it. And again, you don't need to drop the context of the season every 2 seconds because you can just enjoy a win, which this game was. Forget those clowns. Forget those bozos. Forget everything about them. Again, I don't like nothing about them. Can't stand anything about them. And like I said, this game here, Peyton Wilson said it best, and I'm going to repeat after him. If you want to know about culture, come on to Raleigh because the boys in blue know nothing about it.
If there's a paint watching dry contest, I want to beat them in it. It doesn't matter what it is. I want to have more points than those guys down the street in baby blue. Feels good every single time, regardless of how the rest of the season was. Maybe we're 2-10, but if you beat Carolina, it feels incredible. And so here we are.
It feels better than 2-10 without beating them.
Exactly.
That's just the fact. It's not, I hate this idea that, oh, this is your Super Bowl and hang the banner. Again, if we hung the banner, we'd run out of space. We enjoy beating you clowns because we hate you. We hate you. And y'all hate us. And we can tell by the way you talk about it. Somehow all of us are rednecks, even though Grayson, maybe if he got a really bad tan, sure. This neck cannot turn red, friends. Oh, you all are inbred hillbillies. I don't think Grayson nor myself majored in anything related to ag. Am I correct in that, Grayson?
Yeah.
Look at that. So, again, we hate those guys. We don't like those guys. We don't like anything about them. But that doesn't mean that this is our Super Bowl. And also, I just want to say one last thing about that whole this is your Super Bowl thing. I have never been in a fight in my life, nor seen a fight in my life where the guy that gets beat up gets credit for saying, oh, that guy just cared more than me. He just wanted to win the fight more than me. What is this? What type of Again, that is the type of program. That is the type of university. That's the type of people they are. I'm from the west side of Detroit, baby. When you put your hands up. When you about to fight, put your hands. And if they get you, they get you. Don't you sit up there. my eyes are only black right now because I look better than him. I get more money than him, and he just care about beating me up real bad. No, you just take your L and you move on, which we gave him L after L and then another L. And then William got forced to retire, fired, kind of, and got another L. It's 4 L's on top of each other. The L's have reached the square at this point. It's just all these L's stacking up.
The pearl clutching and the copium coming over from down the street. It's so delicious. Every single time. It's so delicious. Oh, NC State's a dirty team, and they intentionally tried to hurt Rucker. First of all, that's a cut block. Extremely legal. There's a reason why it was not flagged clean.
Absolutely.
It's a shame that he got injured, but it was not a dirty play. The copium over there, it never ceases to amaze. And to your point, Kenton, about the Super Bowl thing, well, if this is our Super Bowl, we got a dynasty apparently, because that's 4 in a row. We keep winning this Super Bowl. 8 of the last 11. We are dominating you in this Super Bowl.
Tom Brady couldn't even do that. Tom Brady and company couldn't do that, boy.
Exactly. It feels good to care enough to want to win this game. To use that as an excuse, it's like, well, NC State, this is just the game they only care about, and as long as they win this one, yeah, we want to whoop your behind, and we've gotten pretty good at doing so. That's 4 in a row. So again, credit to all the guys in red and white. Another great win. Credit to Dave Doran. If absolutely nothing else, he hates those guys, and he makes sure his team is ready when he faces the boys in baby blue. Perhaps we should just convince Doran that every week you're playing UNC because maybe we'll get the best results.
So what that they're wearing orange helmets with some white paw on it? That's UNC. And they're running some sorcery, some witchcraft, David. No. I get it. There's some maroon and some gold and there's a spear. That's just – don't let them trick you. That's UNC Tallahassee. Don't let them trick you, brother. Don't let them deceive you. It's all UNC.
Dave, I don't know how to tell you this, but for some reason, UNC is wearing Tennessee orange. Weird, right? But you should definitely turn up the heat on these boys.
This Nico kid, I'm pretty sure he transferred to UNC at some point in time. We need to, just kind of rake the coals a little bit because UNC's getting real deceptive on you. Let them go at it.
But yeah, it was a great win. Our guys played well enough in the end to win. Again, a 22-point fourth quarter. I want to give a lot more credit to CJ Bailey than I did on Saturday night. Yeah. He was so good in the second half that it really gets swept under the rug. I had the stat in front of me, but I lost it. I think he completed all but like 1 or 2 passes in the second half. Threw for close to 200 yards just in that second half. And his leadership as just a true freshman continues to impress. This is his team as we're heading into bowl prep and heading into the offseason. This is his team. If he is going to stick around, which I am inclined to believe that he will, this is his team. And his moxie at such a young age and his ability to fire up the troops and keep everything moving positively at 17, 18 years old, it's outstanding. Yeah. And so I love to see kids like that flourish. We've talked at length about Hollywood Smothers. We've talked at length about the catch from Noah Rogers. There's one guy that I didn't mention on Saturday that needs to be mentioned right now. Jackson Vick. What a stud that came out of seemingly left field and made big-time PBUs in this game. Shout out to Jackson Vick. You made a difference in this rivalry game.
And the sack. The sack on the last drive as well. And a guy that I didn't mention I want to give a shout-out to today is Dakari Collins. That brother showed up and showed out at a high clip in this game. And again, this is what I mean by guys have not hung their heads. Guys have not given up. Guys didn't say, the season didn't go the way we wanted. So, I don't have any eligibility left and the season hasn't gone the way I wanted and I haven't seen enough targets. I'm going to just loaf. Dakari Collins has been a consistent, steadying force in terms of effort. You can never question his effort in that receiving room. You can never say, oh, he just takes routes off because, he's not getting the ball or whatever the case may be. He runs them hard, and when the ball does find him, he does good things with it. Shout out to Dakari for his performance as well as the leading receiver for the Pack in this game.
And it speaks to that culture. It would have been so easy for them to mail it in after you lose to Wake Forest in week, 5 or 6? When your season relatively went out the window after that loss, it would have been so easy to completely self-destruct, and who knows where the season would have gone after that. But they stayed in every game. They fought every game. They wanted to believe in each other every single game, every single week. That's the type of culture that wins you games like this one in week 12. So shout out to NC State football. We're proud of y'all. It was a really tough season, but to finish it on this note, at the very least, feels good. Touching on that culture, actually in a related sense, wide receiver KC Concepcion announces he will be entering the transfer portal. More on this after a quick word from our sponsors. Our first Monday sponsor is FanDuel. Tackle the NFL action this season with FanDuel, America's #1 sportsbook. Right now, new customers can bet just $5, and you'll get $150 back in bonus bets if that first $5 bet wins. The FanDuel Sportsbook app gives you everything you need to place live bets on the NFL, all in just one singular place. When you get a hunch in the middle of a game, you can check out the latest stats, view live play-by-play, and so much more on the very same page that you place all of your bets. Head on over to FanDuel.com in order to join today. You'll get started with that $150 in bonus bets if that first pesky $5 bet wins. That's FanDuel.com in order to get started. Never waste a hunch and make every moment more with FanDuel, the official sportsbook partner of the NFL. Middle portion of our Monday show, some big ticket news hit our desk, obviously, on Sunday. Star wide receiver KC Concepcion has announced that he will be entering the transfer portal here in just about a week's time. This is not a surprise, and I think anyone that watched NC State football this season, you could see this coming probably from a mile away. We talked about his body language earlier in the season on how it was bad. He kind of looked mentally checked out at some points. Later on down the road, his brother that was committed to NC State decommits and goes to Kansas State. I don't know if that's where KC will end up as well, but nonetheless, KC announcing that he will be transferring, not at all a surprise, Kenton.
So I have a confession. This has been news that has been held in the secret compartment of my desk for some time now, because I was told this by an inside source quite some time ago. It wasn't my place to reveal that information, but the writing has kind of been on the wall for this, and even outside of the Nunu situation, there were plenty of signs that pointed directly at, hey, this is very possibly going to be a thing, and this is probably what's going to happen here. So, hey, more power to him. I wish him the best wherever he goes. Wherever he goes, he has been nothing but a star in the community, upstanding gentleman and all that for the most part. And so I don't want anybody to take this next part of what I'm going to say as me denigrating the young man, because, again, by all accounts, I have not heard anything bad about his character. I have not heard anything along those lines of like, oh, he's a terrible guy in the locker room, whatever, woo. I haven't heard anything like that. But here's what I will say. You talk about how this was related to the culture earlier, Gracie.
Yeah.
To me, multiple things that I saw from KC this season were very uncharacteristic of NC State's culture.
I agree.
When I see so much hanging of the head, so much pouting and all that, and this is not just for, KC or for NC State purposes. This is, if you got any young athletes in your family, play this for them as well. Do you think that NFL scouts are not watching when you have bad body language because a quarterback misses you or because you're not getting the ball? Do you not think that that's not happening? I'm not saying that he's to this level, so don't nobody say, oh, he's conflating the two. Everybody in their mind, I remember vividly when Antonio Brown was drafted, everybody that would talk about him said, first-round talent, seventh-round character. And where did he end up going? In the fourth or the fifth, somewhere back there.
Yeah.
Now, if you think about what happened, he went on to be a really great player in the NFL, set a lot of Steelers records, have a great run. But think about how much money he lost on his first contract by behaving like that.
Yeah.
And think about how if there was just one injury, one thing goes wrong, all of a sudden you're looking at missing out on all of that because you just couldn't get your character together. That, how you carry yourself when things aren't going right, is something that NFL scouts look at deeply and in depth. Because in the NFL, some of the greatest seasons of all time, teams don't go 17-0. Some of the greatest seasons of all time, everything doesn't go perfectly. And so you need to be prepared to handle that. And there were multiple times this season where I just saw things from KC where I'm like, that's not Wolfpack culture. That's not how we handle things here. That's not. And don't get me wrong. I'm not saying it's coming from a place of selfishness or I need the ball, me. I'm saying just in general. Even if it's like, hey, I'm a competitor and I want to win and we're not winning. I understand that. But even in losing, hold your head high, hold your chest up. Hey, we'll get them next game. Boy, hey, we got to get better. We'll go back and work on it. Not this kind of sad, mopey, angry kind of thing. That's just not it.
And that transcends across football into other sports and even just in life in general. I mean, I grew up playing competitive baseball, and whenever we went off to some kind of showcase tournament or whatever, my coaches always told me you should play every game like there are college scouts watching you. And they're going to watch every single move that you make. If you hustle or not, whether you're a good teammate or not, they see all of that. And that same thing connects to what we were seeing with KC Concepcion early in this season. When the body language is bad, everyone can see it. When you're frustrated with drops or the play calling or whatever it is, everyone can see it. And once that train gets rolling, it very quickly leaves the station and people can really see where that train is then headed. So to that point, the writing was very much on the wall for the majority of this season. And then you factor in the bigger things at play. Like, yes, the play calling was abysmal, and a lot of it focused way too heavily on KC early in the season, even when it wasn't working. That, of course, led to some frustration, not just from KC, but from everyone. You have that alone when the execution is just not there. And then the season itself, you're 6-6, didn't go the way you wanted it to. There's frustration in that. And I think the third thing I want to bring up is probably one of the most important things is NIL. Obviously, coming into the season, KC was one of the biggest pieces to this roster, and that extracts a very heavy price tag in this new world of NIL. When you have so much money tied up into just one player, and then those things don't go well, it really turns up the pressure into that pressure cooker. I say all that to say this result pretty much seemed inevitable, but I don't think by any means it's the end of the world for NC State. I've said it earlier a couple weeks ago after Nunu had decommitted. If KC were to leave, NC State's going to be fine. We have a lot of wide receiver talent now. We have more wide receiver talent coming in as freshmen. We're fine. One player does not determine how good or bad your football team will be. So it's certainly bittersweet to see KC go. We're always going to remember him for what he did in his freshman season. One of the most impressive seasons we've ever had at NC State, really any position. He was awesome. I think when there's so many bigger factors at play, and NC State's going to have to go into the portal here in just a few short weeks. They have to get better at a lot of different positions. And wide receiver, I don't really see that being near the top of the list. Seem pretty much set, assuming that the majority of the pieces do return to NC State. So I'm okay with KC walking. I certainly wish him the best, but I said it once, I'll say it a million times. He's not worth holding this roster hostage. And so for that reason, we wish him the best. I hope he can flourish somewhere else as long as he's not playing us. And that kind of is what it is.
Yeah, I mean, you got Rodgers coming back, Grimes coming back, Jackson coming back, Anderson coming back. Paylor is probably going to take a huge step forward in terms of his usage and all that good stuff next year. Like you said, Grayson, in terms of the positions that I'm looking at, if there was any position that I could say going into 2025 they could afford one hit of this magnitude, it would be the wide receiver group.
Yes.
I don't think with the running back group, I wouldn't want to see Hollywood or Kendrick Raphael go. I have heard that next year we are in for a show. But, NC State kind of known for being next year university. We'll see. So the reality is that was probably it. Offensive line, absolutely not. You couldn't afford a hit like that. Quarterback room, if CJ Bailey left, I would fall down to my knees midstream here. I would literally, if like we were on air and the news broke while we were on air, I am telling you, I would be just, and I like Tony Calandria, who I'm hearing is now in the portal, and plenty of folks have told me, hey, Ken, your guy, because everybody knows how much I love me some Tony Calandria. I would still be devastated to see my boy Bailey go. And defensively, I don't think there's a single group that would even consider, well, come on. We don't have a group right now defensively that can afford that type of hit. So if there's any group that could take that type of blow and still move forward and be impactful next year, I'd say it's the receivers.
Yeah, so what's important for NC State is they're going to have to reallocate all the NIL that was going to KC and use it to get better on defense or on the offensive line. The offensive line, in my opinion, it should probably be like position group priority number 1 going into the offseason. I think you're losing, 4 starters essentially? Yeah, they're going to need some love quick, fast, and in a hurry. When you're looking at this roster, you can already see there's so many other pieces that are vital to next year's team. Wide receivers feels pretty good right now. We feel pretty much set at that position. So I think this may or may not end up being like a good thing for NC State. Don't get me wrong. It sucks to see him go, but I think when you consider all the factors at play, this will probably work out for the best for both parties. I do believe that. So Casey Concepcion announced he will be entering the transfer portal. NC State's going to have to turn their eyes in the transfer portal and pick up many different players for many different positions here in just a couple weeks. And coming up next, we're going to dive into our big picture takeaways from this win over the Dirty Foot Club. This comes after a quick word from our sponsors. Our second Monday sponsor is Gametime. Gametime has a new feature called Gametime Picks, and it makes getting tickets for your favorite live events easier than ever before. If you're now in the market to see NC State play in their bowl game, waste no more time and head on over to Gametime. Gametime Picks filters out all of the fluff to show you only incredible deals on great seats, and you won't have to waste time searching through thousands of tickets. The curation of Gametime Picks makes it easier to save more on sports, concerts, comedy, theater, you name it, they got it. Toggling the all-in pricing feature on the app will show your total upfront, so you receive 0 surprises at checkout. And as always, you get that panoramic view of your seat in the app before you buy, so you know exactly what to expect upon arrival. Take the guesswork out of buying tickets with Gametime Picks. Download the Gametime app, create an account, and use code LOCKEDONCollege for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply, and again, create an account and use redeem code LOCKEDONCollege. LOCKEDONCOLLEGE, Locked On College, for $20 off. Download Gametime today. What time is it? You already know. It's game time. Last couple of minutes of our Monday show. Time for our big picture takeaways from a 35-30 win over the Dirty Foot Club. Kenton, I'll let you lead us off.
Yeah, so my first big picture takeaway is, again, the culture prevails. Like, that really is something that I want to make very clear here. In terms of all of the schools in the state of North Carolina, I think the only one that has an argument of, hey, we have a culture that is similar or that is building in that direction is Duke football. I think they're the only one because they have a very carved out defensive identity of like, hey, this is what we do. This is who we are, that lasted over from Elko to DS. So more power to them. Got to give them their respect there. I don't think anybody else in the state comes close. With all due respect to Clausen and what he's built at Wake Forest, I just don't think they have a very defined culture. And the Dirty Foot Club, again, it's just softness all around. If you saw the post-game presser where William was talking about his departure and how everything worked out, you could just tell it was just, again, it just reeked of, hey,
so
there's indecision, there's up, there's down, there's left, there's right, there's, oh, well, I thought you were coming back another year. Oh, I was going to retire Friday. You know, lots of yin-yang and riff-raff there where it's just like, again, soft bunch. The culture prevailed in this game. That never give up, that never die, that, you know, everything ain't going perfect, but we going to rock out. That culture made it happen.
Yeah, for me, my biggest picture takeaway from this game is regardless of how the rest of the season went, this is a team that never quits. And I think that is their identity. We've searched the entire season trying to figure out the identity offensively and defensively, but as a whole, they are a bunch that doesn't quit. And again, that's the culture. That is the type of stuff that wins you games like this one. And we should have won a lot more than just 6 games, and there's other factors at play because of that, coaching, but this team never quit. And I think that impressed me the most walking out of Keenan on Saturday night. This team had several chances to fold late in that game. It was another 4-quarter affair. We played around for 3 of those quarters and then decided to turn up the heat and try to score points finally in the 4th quarter. There were so many moments, like when Hampton goes the entire length of the field, not just once, but twice. That could have broken your spirit right there, but we didn't allow it to. Noah Rogers comes up with the biggest catch of the season with the game on the line, and all of us couldn't possibly be happier for a kid like that. Struggled with drops earlier in the game, makes the biggest catch of the season with the game on the line. Awesome. It feels even better when it's against the Dirty Foot Club, but this team, this season, it was a failure, but they never quit, and there's always something respectable about teams like that.
Again, that never quitting, that never giving up. That's like you said, there's something to that. And I'm excited for this bowl game because the difference between last year and this year, last year's team was a bit older. When you look around at almost every position for the most part, it was a lot of really, really, very much so elder statesman guys that were not going to be back. And so we weren't shocked by Peyton Wilson sitting out the bowl game. We weren't shocked by some of the things that we saw in terms of, or not even not shocked. It's just the reality of what it was a lot of guys that were giving reps and all that, or that were playing and practicing for the bowl game were not going to be here next year. Shaheem Battle was not going to be here this year. Right. And he's not the only one. There were multiple players that from last year were not going to be back. Trent Penix was not going to be back. Love man to death. Love him. Think he's awesome. He wasn't going to be back. We had lots of players at lots of positions that, hey, they were not going to be back. Our wide receiver core for the most part, right? When you look at Lassane, when you look at Rosner, when you look at Anthony, there were a lot of guys that were not going to be back. And so this year's bowl game, I'm believing a lot of guys will be back. We knew for a fact our quarterback and leading rusher, Brendan Armstrong, wasn't going to be back.
Right.
So you're looking at this situation and you're saying the reps are going to go to a bunch of guys who very, very much so will be back. We knew MJ Morris wasn't coming back for the most part. So we knew our top two quarterbacks gone. This year, this bowl game and this bowl game prep, this bowl game practice with all these guys showing up and showing out is going to be important because, again, all these guys are young and returning, and that never quit, never fight, never give up attitude, it'll be important in building momentum into this offseason and into the 2025 season because have we not seen in our own conference how laying an egg and giving up before the bowl then seeps over into your next season?
Yeah.
Ladies and gentlemen of the jury, a team that's going to show up and compete for the bowl game means something. Because, again, we've seen the opposite. So I'm excited to see where this takes this team.
Couldn't have said it better myself. I'm very excited to see this team play in a bowl because they have earned it. They got that 6-win mark, and they have earned it. But the amount of stuff that this team has gone through this year, it will be nice to see them enjoy going to a bowl, regardless of where it is. It's probably going to be a cold weather bowl game, but I guess we'll keep our fingers crossed. I can't wait to see the younger guys.
Give me quick. I mean, yes.
Hey, that's we'll take that one.
I hope they get to the playoff.
I can't wait to see some of the younger guys come up and get real opportunity in this bowl game. Jonathan Paylor is probably the top of my list. With Casey Concepcion announcing he's transferring, one would assume he's probably not going to play because that's the case like 99% of the time. I tweeted The Undertaker coming out with his entrance. Jonathan Paylor, brother, it is your time now. We have anxiously waited to get you on the field. If he's not on the field in this bowl game, that's blasphemy. That should be the number one option to slide into what Casey was trying to give you this year. We know he's a freak athlete. Show us in the bowl game. He's young, but this is the opportunity to use this bowl game as a springboard into spring football. And it doesn't just stop with Paylor. I've talked about Elijah Groves a ton of times this year. Still haven't seen him. If feasible, I want to see him in a game like this one. The young talent, it's so important to get them to this bowl game because it's extra practices, extra camaraderie, extra everything. That matters, believe it or not. Even though it's going to be a mediocre bowl game, it matters to the players. It matters to the development of the rest of this roster. It's a really big deal. So we're going to find out, I believe, this coming Sunday after the conference championships. Yeah. I'm excited for the guys. They've earned this, and I can't wait to see them use it to their future benefit. That'll do it for us here on Monday. As always, thank you all so much for joining us. GTHC. Feels good to say that after every single time we beat those guys. Make sure to hit that like button. Drop all of your comments in the comment box. Mash that subscribe button if you have not already. We'll see you right back here tomorrow on Tuesday for more. And until then, go Pack.
Go Pack.